Hello everyone, Grim here, and welcome to my nightmare. Today we have a tale titled, He Called Himself Sleep, Part 2. Written by the user, TheRealDannySugar. So please, as normal, sit back, relax, and enjoy. That evening I was feeling vindicated, powerful in a way that I haven't ever felt. I wrote down my thoughts, a brief layout of the experiment I wanted to conduct. I'm going to wait until I see Mrs. Brown next Wednesday. Speak not. Those two words felt like they had meaning. I got ready for bed, as I always do. This time I wrote a note and crumpled it up in my fist. When I got into bed, I pulled the blankets up to my chin. The blinds were open and the street illuminated by moonlight. I did what he told me to do 10 years ago. I opened my fist and reached out to him.
A gift for me?
He seemed surprised. I felt his long fingers wrap around the note, then heard him unfold it.
Why me? There is no me. Don't flatter yourself.
The words drifted lazily into my ears. He must have seen my forehead wrinkle in confusion.
The arrangements from yesterday wears heavy on the child of tomorrow. Do you want a gift? Nod.
I'm even more confused. How come no one in the family tried this? Have they? What is happening? I'm not sure what's going on. Last time I spoke more than 5 words, sleep snapped my finger in half. The fear is coming back. A lump formed in my throat. I swallowed hard and nodded meekly.
Close your eyes, or this will hurt more.
I felt a shift in the bed as he leaned over. Suddenly I felt a cold, damp palm on my head. I gasped out loud. 5 fingers wrapped around my skull. Slowly I feel the tips of his fingers sharpen into needles. They dug into my head and then nothing. I opened my eyes and I was in the middle of the woods. From my vantage point, I was off the ground at least 10 feet. My eyes pointed straight ahead. I had no ability to move. In my field of vision, I saw a naked man slowly entering it. He looked familiar. The man has long black hair to his shoulders with red streaks of what looked like paint running horizontally across his face and chest. He had a leather pouch on a belt tied around his waist. I couldn't figure out where I've seen him before. He undid his belt and set it aside. Then he began gathering twigs, branches, and dry brush. After a neat pile, he stood up again and walked away out of my field of vision. He came back again with rocks, roughly the same size, then started arranging them in a circle. Where have I seen him before? All the wood and brush he acquired went into the makeshift pit. He squatted down and started a fire. Once the fire was roaring, he pulled out a kettle. He set the kettle next to him and pulled out some plant material out of his bag. He put the plant material in the kettle, then suspended it over the fire using a handcrafted pot hook and stand. Every couple of minutes he would give it a stir using a wooden spoon. Once it looked ready, he pulled out a cup and poured the tea in. He blew on it to cool it down. After it cooled down, he drank it. If this was a dream, it was very vivid. The sun was beginning to set. I was still stuck, still unable to move. It felt like an eternity. The man was sitting cross-legged by the fire with his eyes closed. Time felt like it was being pulled and stretched at the seams. Seconds felt like minutes, minutes felt like hours. Suddenly the man's eyes flicked open, as wide as they could go. His pupils were dilated. Beads of sweat began forming on his brow. He started making a low, droning sound and began pounding on his chest rhythmically. Thump, thump, thump. The fire seemed to join in the song with crackles and pops. I wish I could have shouted out. I wish I could have yelled. Is this a dream? Where am I? Why can't I move? I was stuck watching a man, high out of his mind. I still had no perception of time. Maybe 10 minutes passed and the man leaped up into a ferocious stance. He started sprinting around the fire and began yelling. I call you, I call you. I will let you in, I will let you in. I need your help. His shouting was earnest yet desperate. His body was drenched in sweat, and the strips were running. After a while of shouting, I felt something. The first something I could feel this entire time. My fingers wiggled in my right hand. I felt my right arm and it entered into my field of vision. It wasn't my arm. Sleep reached his arm out and placed it on the man's shoulder. He stopped running, paused, then looked up to where I was standing.
Tell Deborah I said hello.
The man spoke, but it was Sleep's voice. I immediately woke up, drenched in sweat at sunrise. I felt something was wrong. I called into work and told them I can't make it due to a family emergency. I fixed my breakfast of yogurt and granola and waited for Mrs. Brown's office to open. Around 8:30 I received a phone call. Is Rick there? The receptionist was holding back tears, I could tell. This is him. Mrs. Brown passed away in her sleep. I have to cancel your appointment. Her husband mentioned that he found an envelope with your name on it. He'll drop it off at the office for you. Please come by in the afternoon to pick it up. No, I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have. This is my fault, I'm sorry, I really am. I sighed deeply. I can't reach out to anyone. I am all alone in my struggle with sleep. I took out the book of my family history and stepped outside. The cool air felt great. I felt sick. I'm so dumb. I knew this would happen. The image of the naked man was seared into my brain, though. I had to move on, figure out what to do. An arrangement. Did that man make an arrangement with sleep? How do I factor into this? I flipped through the pages and all of my family pictures, studying each face. There were pictures decades back. On one of the pages I found a family tree of sorts. I looked towards the top of the tree. Each name had an arrow pointing away from it, drawn in Sharpie and connected to a note. Died in fire, died in their sleep, died by strangulation. The first name there was circled, Joseph. I followed the arrow towards the note. Body never found. That wasn't the weird part to me. I looked at who he was married to. Rita. My grandmother Rita. That would make her nearly 200 years old. I thought I had a plan to help prove I'm not crazy. Now I need a plan to figure out what's going on. When Rita passed, she packed away several boxes and had me put them in the garage. Keepsakes and mementos. Maybe there were more clues tucked away in the boxes. I went back inside and headed towards the garage. I started pulling down boxes and moving them towards the living room. Rita loved being organized. She had written in black Sharpie which each box contained. Journals, mementos, photo albums, tribal. No one ever mentioned this to me. I opened the box and sitting at the very top was her tribal ID, and perhaps a couple dozen more. I picked them up and went through them. I came across my parents. At the very end was mine. Plain as day, my name, my tribal ID. I opened my phone and Googled the tribe. They were forcibly removed from several states away in the 1920s and came to the state where I am now. I looked up where the address of the main office was. Google said it's around a 20-minute drive away. I don't know what to do with this information, but I do know I have a letter to pick up. I drove over to my therapist's house to retrieve the letter from the receptionist. I needed time to think. Hi Rick, thank you for coming. Would you like to set up an appointment with another therapist? She handed me the letter. No, I'm okay. Again, I'm really sorry. Tell her husband I'm really sorry and that I'm going to make this better. I shouldn't have gotten anyone involved. I apologized and walked out holding the letter. I parked my car on the street. In front of my house, I pulled out the letter and I opened it. Don't blame yourself. Take care of yourself. Take care of sleep. I sat in my car with the letter open in my lap. My phone rang. Is this Rick? It was a man, someone I didn't know.
Debbie was my wife. She was very upset last night. At first I thought she was cheating on me, but then she wrote down what you told her. I don't know if I can help, but can you try to explain this to me?
He sounded sincere.
Listen, I can't tell you. You're going to end up dead like everybody else. This book I have about my family history has numerous accounts of people dying. I don't want... I tried to explain. A book? Is there any way you could get me a photocopy?
He asked. He was interested, but I'm not sure.
If this is sealing my fate, and if I die, I at least want to know. Can I meet you?
The book is at least 100 pages, plus all my notes and observations. What could we even do? I guess I do owe him an explanation. I do owe him answers.
Okay.
We arranged to meet somewhere. His name was William. He himself looked like he hadn't slept in years. I showed him how massive the book was and how much information it contained.
Whoa, I thought my wife was crazy at first. I thought you were crazy. But if this is real as she thinks it is, and as real as it has been for you, I need to do this for her. She made a promise to help. She made a promise to help you.
He sighed deeply. We started the process of making copies, page by page. He was reading about my family. Even though there were no pictures before 1920, I filled him in with the information. I'm still processing about my grandmother Rita. How this has been going on longer than when it initially was written about. Several hours passed. We paused to grab some coffee and food.
It all started with Joseph, you think? And this grandmother of yours was his wife. This is unbelievable. The shop closes soon. I don't know what we can do. Let's finish copying this, then I can come over and we can go through the rest of her boxes. You said she had one labeled journals. There might be more information there.
We headed back to the store and finished copying everything. It was late. We took separate cars and I led him to my house. We went in and I showed him the boxes. I was so exhausted and so was William.
Hey, how about we make some coffee, order some pizza? If I'm gonna die tonight, let's at least stay up until that happens. You're testing ideas. Let's call this an experiment.
I haven't had a sleepover in 10 years. Even if it was grim, it could be fun. This couldn't possibly get any more bizarre than it already was. It was around 9 p.m. when we started going through all of Grandma Rita's boxes. Besides the tribal cards, there were other objects that looked like they belonged in a museum. Baskets, wooden carvings, pottery, leather pouches. I held one of the pouches in my hand. I looked it over. I think this was the one that was used in my vision. This was the one Joseph used in the ritual. I pulled it out and set it aside. I mentioned it to William. The next box I wanted to go through was journals. I opened it and there must have been a dozen or so notebooks. I knew she liked scrapbooking, but this seemed more than that. I spread them out on the floor, scanning each one until one caught my eye. Rituals. Rituals. We both spoke at the same time. I felt a sudden chill down my spine. My muscles started to tense. What time is it? I should be in bed. 11 p.m. How did it get so late? William noticed a shift in my demeanor. What's going on? He asked. I'm not sure. I need to be in bed. I need to close my eyes. I was straining to get out any words. Listen to me. I'll go through this book. Let me read it, he insisted. My eyes were open and I was staring at William, going through this. He was reading out loud and partially musing on what he found. Paint lines on the body to assist opening yourself up. Chant or beat a drum. My head started to feel fuzzy. Call out and be clear what you need. The room was beginning to spin and became disoriented. Let the witnesses come one by one. I was starting to fade.
Do you think you can ignore me?
Sleep's words spiraled through my body and pulled me upwards. There was just blackness. Rick, we need to do the ritual. I heard William panicking. Come back. His pleas were quickly drowned out by Sleep's melodic voice.
You cannot escape this. Your father tried, and so did all the fathers before. Joseph gave me keys to his lineage, and with this key, I will unlock the earthly realm to walk again.
And that is the end of that story. What an amazing follow-up to the original tale. I am indeed intrigued to see where this goes next. If you agree and would like to hear the rest of the story, then please like and subscribe to my channel. Alternatively, if you want to be in contact with me directly, you can follow me on my socials connected to the link tree below. You'll be able to find my Twitter, my Instagram, and even a Discord server that I set up for the people who want to listen and get to know me. I like to be as social as possible. Well, I won't hold you up any longer as it's been almost 25 minutes. So, be safe wherever you are. Have a good night all day, and this is Grim, signing off.